Hello everyone and welcome to a top 10 games list of 2018. Because it's December and this is a YouTube channel that likes to talk occasionally about games, so here we are. I'll be briefly going over my top 10 games that came out this year, and when that's done, I'll talk about a few that other people might have on their lists or ones that I enjoyed, but not enough to warrant a numerical grade against the other options available. And keep in mind that this is all my opinion and you are free to disagree with me. After all, that's what comment sections are for. Now, with that out of the way, we can get to the games I actually enjoyed. Starting with number 10, Sea of Thieves. Yes, I am putting Sea of Thieves on this list. Sea of Thieves is at the bottom of this list simply because I did enjoy my time with the game while I had it, but there wasn't enough to keep me playing. It didn't take very long for me to get bored with the initial release content of the game, and I have since gotten rid of my Xbox One because I just could not justify having a $500 paperweight sitting in my entertainment stand. Sea of Thieves does have some fun gameplay when you start, and when I tried it out it was a lot of fun. It just, again, did not hold my attention. I think this game was just massively overhyped, and it probably would have done better had it not been pushed so hard by Microsoft, who are so desperate for exclusives on their console that they'll straight up buy studios with good histories and then release those games on other platforms anyway. Rare is the perfect example of that mentality, since the only fun game we've gotten from them since Microsoft bought them out was Viva Pinata, and even that game got old quick. I haven't played any of the new content that's been added to the game, and I honestly just don't care. We're getting to a point where too many online games come out, have little to nothing to do at the start, expecting you to find the fun for yourself in a bare-bones experience, and then a year later the developers include some feature that should have been there from the start that makes the game enjoyable. I really don't hate the game we were given, I'm just disappointed. Not enough to keep it off this list, but enough. Number 9 is Donut County. I thoroughly enjoy playing indie games with weird and imaginative concepts behind them, sort of like Oxenfree or Octodad, or some other ones that don't start with an O. But Donut County is unique because I get to play as an emotion bottomless pit instead of just being one. Donut County pegs itself as a puzzle game, but the real puzzle is trying to figure out why someone would consider this a puzzle game. The main focus of the game is pretty much spent moving around closed off areas and getting underneath stuff to make it fall into you, making this a game about eating your feelings as much as it is about being a hole without an ass. One of the selling points for me was that ProZD was doing voices for the initial trailer they showed off at Paris Games Week in 2017, but the actual product didn't seem to have any of that. Instead, it opens with a text conversation that lets you keep on quacking at one another, and all dialogue from that point forward is just incoherent sound bites. I actually forgot what the story was supposed to be about, mainly because all you do is be a hole the entire time when you're allowed to play instead of sitting through some way too long conversations. I'm told that this game is a bit better on mobile, but I played it on the PlayStation 4, so I guess I missed out on something. I do wish that some of the puzzles were more engaging, actually making me choose specific things to suck up via context clues in the environment rather than just finding the thing in the area that's slightly smaller than all the other things. If nothing else, the gameplay is relaxing and makes for a good, minimal stress time if you need to just unwind. Number 8 is World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. I've been playing World of Warcraft on and off for the last 15 years or so, and Battle for Azeroth was the first expansion I bought brand new within the same week that it came out. I'm not entirely sure as to why though, since as soon as I bought it I did exactly the same thing I do every time I renew my subscription. Start up 3 or 4 new characters and redo quests I've done about 50 times, only to go back to my Dwarf Hunter and pretending that I understand how the in-game auction house functions, all while playing the Pokemon ripoff they introduced in Warlords of Draenor for more time than I'd like to admit. Wild's World is just super fun for me to explore, and to this day I've only been in a party with other players once, and that was just to go through the Nomergon dungeon so I could get a recipe to make a mechanical squirrel companion. I actively avoid fighting other players whenever possible, simply because I am casual trash, and I haven't spent 17 hours raiding dungeons for a sword that does 18 quintillion damage when inserted rectally, so I have seen maybe half of what the game has to offer in terms of explorable locations. I tried changing that this time, however, and tried using the looking for group function, played more than just my Dwarf Hunter, and even joined a guild as if I were an extrovert or something, even if most of my time spent socializing was spent at the Dark Moon Fair catching fish to get an even smaller fish I can let float behind me, and talking to people about the game like I actually knew anything about it other than what buttons to push to move. At the end of the day, I did enjoy my time back in Azeroth, if only because I felt like I actually had something to do now other than just give my battle pets permanent brain damage from constantly fighting. The new content in the game is fun to get through, even if you're still forced to do a tutorial for a new character when you use the instant level up, regardless of whether or not you've actually played the class and or race before. And I can't wait until 6 months from now when I get the itch to play the game once again and spend all my time virtually fishing instead of actually going out into nature. Number 7 is Beat Saber. This was actually a bit of a tie between Moss and Beat Saber, but Beat Saber just barely beats Moss out. Mainly because Beat Saber has a very simple concept behind it. Boxes come at you, and you use lightsabers to cut them in certain directions while listening to techno music. While it sounds like a knockoff of Guitar Hero that has you flailing about like a madman instead of just looking ridiculous with a fake plastic guitar hanging off your neck, no, that's pretty much it. Beat Saber's main appeal is slicing through boxes like nothing, even though they really are just images on a screen, and the game offers plenty of options on how to do just that for all of us box haters out there. There are 4 different difficulty settings the game employs, with the first 3 being your standard difficulty levels, easy, normal, and hard, but Expert feels sort of like the game was programmed by baton-twirling robots who use nanosecond calculations to blaze through their songs. Trying to get past the first beat drop in any of these songs on Expert is a daunting task, basically asking you to become a god among men. Flail your arms around until they pop out, pick them back up with your teeth and shake your head wildly so you can actually feel like you've accomplished something before the text reading level failed inevitably makes you question your own existence. The only real disadvantage I have to getting this on my PlayStation VR headset is the lack of custom-made levels. And while slashing boxes to the beat of the Mortal Kombat theme song or the entirety of the first Shrek movie script certainly sounds appealing, I'm oddly content just playing through the many of the same songs over and over again, trying my best to not break my back as I wave my arms randomly about in front of me. The biggest problem you'll run into is not potentially smacking someone across the face as you're playing, but it's their fault for walking in front of you if they see you playing this game. Aside from some sore arms and a headache caused by the combination of techno music blasting into my ears and having dual screens blasting light an inch from my face, I'd say the game is well worth it for anyone who has access to a VR headset and a desire to destroy an endless stream of boxes. Number 6, Super Mario Party. To say that releases of Mario Party have been terrible in recent years would be pretty much an understatement. But Super Mario Party starts to make its way into the right direction before being pointlessly halted just when it starts to get good. The core concept of any Mario Party is that you let players move around a board independent of one another and collect stars, playing mini-games in between each turn. And at least in that regard, this game succeeds, whereas other incarnations of late can't seem to fucking grasp that concept. Many of the mini-games take advantage of the Joy-Cons the Switch has this time around, making you feel the different levels of vibration to know exactly where your sweet spot is, or throwing punches wildly around you and hoping you don't knock your Nana out when you both win at a 2v2 game and have to high-five at the end to get a better reward. The only real problem I have with the game is that the main boards are a bit too small, making me long for the days of Mario Party 6 when boards felt like they went on for miles and miles, instead of stunting them to make room for a faux dance party optional game mode because Just Dance exists. The real draw of this version is the portability of the game, allowing you to play on the go with people so you can see the world while you slowly destroy every relationship you've built up over the years. The game does boast a few cooperative modes that can help counteract that, but no one plays Mario Party to make friends. We all play it to systematically unravel the very threads of our relationships in an effort to make us hate ourselves and others even more. And in that regard, this game succeeds. Number 5, Dragon Ball FighterZ. Fighters? I don't know, doesn't really matter. I'm of an older breed of Dragon Ball fan, so I have a hard time understanding why the hell Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan is even a thing, or how someone like Yamcha doesn't become paste when that version of Goku farts at him. Dragon Ball FighterZ got me interested in that concept, and then the online community of players who mastered the 700 hit combo while I can barely do a Kamehameha turned me off of it. The game is a visual splendor, drawing direct visual comparison to the anime and making the fights look the best that they ever have in a game. The fighting mechanics are tight and well tuned, leading to one of the best fighting games to come out in years. Even the story mode isn't total garbage, simultaneously giving an in-universe reason for why the player might switch between fighters willy-nilly and introducing a brand new villain who eats people to gain their powers, and is somehow both an android and a Majin. The game is blown up in the fighting game community, and as a result has unintentionally made the only instance in sports history that I'm personally aware of where someone switching seats can be considered a legitimate strategy that leads to victory. Like in most fighting games, high-level play is beyond insane, and watching people like Sonic Fox compete is so insane that my brain hurts just watching them play. Anyway, the game is a lot of fun and is easily one of the best fighting games of this past year, so check it out. Number 4 is Spyro, the Reignited Trilogy. When Activision got the rights to Spyro the Dragon, my hope was that we'd get some good games out of it, maybe even remakes of the originals that I played way too much when I was younger. Instead, we got an abomination of a concept in Skylanders, where they turned Spyro into a little purple and orange gremlin, and then shoved him aside for thrown-out Digimon designs that managed to earn Activision billions of dollars by exploiting children, which as we all know is the best kind of business strategy. Then, shortly after the release of the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy last year, we finally got what I had wanted. A proper remake of the original 3 Spyro the Dragon games with enhanced gameplay, visuals, character designs, and enough furry characters to keep everyone happy. Okay, maybe that last one was more just for me. The point is, that's what we got and it's almost perfect. Every level is fantastically redone, and sitting there to get through all the trophies was an absolute blast of nostalgia. What sucked is that in the nearly 20 years since I last played one of these games, my hearing has kind of started to go a bit, and as a result I would have loved to have subtitles. Activision, however, refused to put them in, saying they wanted to keep the integrity of the game intact. I personally would have no problem with this, if not for the fact that they changed the bone dance to include flossing. Who the hell in their right mind thought that this was in the spirit of the originals? Has Fortnite really destroyed everything? Is nothing sacred? Other than that, it's perfect. Just the remake I wanted. 10 out of 10 will likely play again. Number 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I've played every Smash Bros. Game since the original, and I have to say that Ultimate certainly lives up to the title. Every fighter from the series pass is here, letting players finally answer the question of just how far people will go to justify Pichu inclusion in Smash over Waluigi. The gameplay is the same as it ever was, where you just wave dash and flip skippy your way through a fight before slamming an opponent with Bowser's ass so hard they bounce off the ground and fly into the sunset. Are those terms used in the pro community? I don't know, I'm nowhere near good enough. This time around, they've given us a new story mode, and unlike the Subspace Emissary, this one actually has an easy enough plot to follow. The random new boss named Galeem kills every one of the fighters except for Kirby, and then injects them with less important side characters from every other franchise under the sun to make them need a serious dose of Visine. Most of the fights just consist of a rock-paper-scissors mechanic that is supposed to help fight, but your opponent has some difference to them that can be really easy to work around or make them the cheapest bastard who's ever bastarded, and it just ultimately boils down to how good are you with Kirby or Captain Falcon or whoever you're playing as. The game no longer has trophies, which was one of my personal favorite parts of the older titles, but the gameplay and character selection is pretty damn wild. And now that we're getting the likes of Joker from Persona 5 as a playable fighter, I'm eager to see what other characters we'll get with the Fighter Pass. Because Nintendo has finally embraced the internet age and the first thing they latched onto is microtransactions, when what they really should have latched onto was understanding how online play works. Number 2, God of War. Hot damn, is God of War a good game. Going from a rage-induced monster leaping around with whip swords to a stoic father figure whose greatest fight yet is giving his son the adoration he deserves is something called character development, kiddies, and this game has it in spades. The leap from Greek mythology to Norse is helped along with the inclusion of a new camera angle and one of the most badass weapons in the history of video games. Throwing the Leviathan axe around is so much fun, you might not even realize you can use the Blades of Chaos halfway through the campaign for anything other than solving puzzles. I know I didn't. Exploration is one of the key focuses of this game, as are the tacked-on RPG upgrade system and a staggering level of dependency on the word boy in the script, and all these elements gel together into the overall experience to deliver what is easily the best God of War game to date. Kratos' journey with his son is so expertly crafted, it almost made me forget that Fallout 76 also came out this year, but that probably is more on Fallout 76 since it looks like it came from the PS2 era. Some of the boss fights in this game feel a bit repetitive, and by that I mean they reuse the same boss fights multiple times throughout the game to the point where you think Kratos is stuck in some kind of time loop, reliving the same fights over and over again a la Groundhog Day.
I'm a god.
This doesn't make the game any less fun, however, and the Valkyrie fights are still some of the most varied and hardest encounters I've come across in gaming, and I'm including the Cuphead tutorial on that list. The journey to the highest peak in the realms is easily one of the best experiences in gaming this year, and will likely be one of the best experiences I have in all my time with video games. And number 1, Marvel's Spider-Man. My favorite game of 2018, without a doubt, is Spider-Man. This one was a real toss-up for me, if only because I enjoyed God of War just about as much as I did Spider-Man. Both games are fun experiences offering their own slew of unique gameplay and story, but Spider-Man beats out God of War simply because I more consistently had fun playing Spider-Man. God of War is great, but Spider-Man just flows so perfectly that I seamlessly fell into the role of Spider-Man within a few minutes. Marvel's Spider-Man has some flaws, like pointless stealth missions with MJ and Miles that are somehow less pointless than the completely skippable tile match and hacking minigames, but the overall package feels like it's ripped from the pages of a comic book in just the right ways. Insomniac managed to take the lessons learned from the Batman Arkham games and translate them to Spider-Man, making an experience that's so perfect you might forget to eat, sleep, use the bathroom, or feel the touch of another person for days on end while getting all those backpacks strewn about the city. Swinging around the city is easily the best it's ever felt, and even if the crimes you stop in each district are just the same 5 cookie-cutter scenarios with maybe a few different additional objectives, they're still fun to get through on your way to 100% completion. This game is so well made that a staggering number of people got everything they could in the game, proving that you don't have to be a lonely shut-in like me to get 100% completion of the game. If you play no other games that came out this year, be sure to play Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4. And with that, list is done. You might notice a few games that aren't here that might be on your list, but that's because I don't care. But, to explain myself away, I'll call this the honorable mentions category of the list. Celeste. Did not have a chance to play this game myself, but everything I've seen makes me happy it exists. Whether we're talking about the assist mode the game employs, or the fact that it's being called the Dark Souls of Super Meat Boy clones by no one but yours truly, Celeste is a fantastic looking game that I cannot wait to actually try out soon. I genuinely have little to nothing bad to say about this game because I have not played it, and I don't pass judgment on things I have not personally experienced like some sociopath. Also, the music in this game is just fantastic, and honestly deserved the award for Best Musical Score over Red Dead Redemption 2 at the Game Awards by leaps and bounds. Just saying. Deltarune Chapter 1. Deltarune wants you to know it's not Undertale, but it constantly references back to it with character designs, combat, and choice-based morality system that Undertale so lovingly made, so it's a bit of a hypocrite. I personally enjoyed my brief time with Deltarune though. It's a great start to what will hopefully be a fully realized game at some point 999 years from now, but all we got for now is Chapter 1, which is leaps and bounds better than having fucking nothing at all. This game would have probably beat out Sea of Thieves for the spot of number 10 on this list, if it was the full game, but the difference here is that Deltarune is more like a demo, while Sea of Thieves is just No Man's Sky without space travel. And I can shoot myself out of a cannon in Sea of Thieves, so instant win there. And last but certainly least, Red Dead Redemption 2. I feel like I'm one of the only people who didn't actually want to get this game, so I didn't. The fact that God of War beat this game out at the Game Awards for Game of the Year was a fantastic surprise for me, since Rockstar seems to just get every reward there ever is. I wouldn't be surprised if it got an Oscar nomination this year, but that's more because the committee voting on the nominations for the Oscars doesn't even watch half the shit they're voting on anymore, so it's more a dig at them. I'm not going to say that the game doesn't look impressive, I just personally don't enjoy Rockstar games, with notable exception of Bully. And as such, this game will not grace my console until it's in the $20 bin at GameStop. In other words, 5 years from now when Grand Theft Auto 6 is out, and people can finally stop talking about how this game is the second coming of Cowboy Jesus. So, there you have it. That's all the games I played this year that I enjoyed, or the ones that people think I should enjoy because internet comments matter. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, what your favorite games are as well, and we'll just see y'all in the next video.